Chapter 9. The day after the concert, Lin Qiqing and Ge Shu held press conference to make a statement on the matter. But this matter involved the dead godfather of music, and with San Shimu's encouragement, the reporters treated the two very roughly. They raised one sharp question after another, rendering the two speechless. Lin Qiqing stood up and bowed an apology several times, but he was unable to say a word in his defense. How could he justify it? The so-called manuscript he'd submitted to the court and published on the blog had already thoroughly proved that he was a liar, an ungrateful villain. "I'm deeply aware of my own mistake. Please forgive me. Please give me another chance." He sobbed out this sentence. The once most image-conscious god-tier singer was now in a mess of snot and tears, crying like a child. No forgiveness! We'll never forgive you!" An Ojinan fan hidden in the crowd shouted loudly. Then somebody rushed up and threw a prepared bag of dog shit at him. Security quickly carried the man out, leaving the thoroughly embarrassed Lin Qiqing exposed to the cameras. He finally realized that his reputation was now, like his suit, putrid. No matter how many times he washed it, when he tried to wear it again later, it would always look dirty in his mind. He was so regretful that he almost broke down on the spot, but he endured. He needed to save Ge Shu. Ge Shu never knew the truth, so she was innocent. He couldn't ruin her future. His manager tried to pull him off stage, but he refused to leave. He spent a few minutes explaining Ge Shu's side. Afterwards, Ge Shu also held a press conference, stating that she had no knowledge about this, but she still wanted to prudently apologize to Oji Nan and Oji Bai. Apparently, the fans didn't buy it. Her previously rising fan base plummeted, leaving only a few thousand people. Even the recently debuted newcomer had more fans. Seeing that Ge Shu's future was about to be ruined, Yun Xiyuan became anxious, and now he'd come to find San Shimu. The two of them walked into the office together and settled themselves on the couch. Ge Shu had on heavy makeup, but it couldn't conceal her gaunt face. She greeted San Shimu, then quickly glanced at Oji Nan, who was reclining on the sofa. The youth was drinking tea, his porcelain white skin slightly fluorescent under the sunlight, his lowered eyes revealing a quiet and melancholic temperament, beautiful like a painting. It was hard to imagine that someone so introverted and shy in reality had such an intimidating stage presence. He could make tens of thousands of people cheer with him, screaming, crying, then get carried away. He'd smashed all the negative rumors about him, and also those who claimed that he couldn't write songs had nothing to say after listening to his concert. As he'd explained on his blog, it's not that he couldn't write, it's just that his admiration for his father was so strong that he'd imprisoned himself. He thought that he could never break free, but his father's death cracked open the shackles on his mind, allowing him to bravely fly towards the sky. Yun Ji-yuan also felt very tangled when he saw Oji Nan. The young man he'd once thought was impossible to train had transformed into the world's most popular musician overnight. His songs occupied the top spots of all the big and small music charts, and each land had a growing number of fanatical fans. He was called a rock leader, music king, and he'll be able to create even more glorious achievements than his father. Oji Bai, and such a genius was unhesitatingly abandoned by Time's record forcing him to turn to a competitor. Because of this, Yun Shiyuan was now not only scolded by his father, his decision was also repeatedly used by board members as a weapon for criticism, demanding that he step down. Back then, Ojinan went to the chairman's office several times, wanting to explain what happened, but he was always driven away by Yun Jiyuan. Now that he thought about it, if he had calmly listened, perhaps time records wouldn't have fallen into this predicament. Rubbing his heart aching in regret, Yan Jiyuan greeted San Chimu. "Have a seat." San Chimu casually waved, then took out a cigar and handed it to his lover. Zhuan Sheng took it, neatly cut and lit it, then quickly shifted his head to avoid the rising smoke. Seeing this, San Chimu placed the cigar in the ashtray and said in a low voice, "If you hate the smell of tobacco, why don't I quit smoking?" "No need. This is a preloaded characteristic. It's impossible for you to quit." Zhuan Sheng shook his head in amusement. He'd tried to help his lover quit smoking in the past. Not for 1 month or 2 months, but in each of the 3 or 4 reincarnations, he was never successful. Over time, he also gave up. He wrapped his arms around his lover's neck and pulled his head down. Zhuan Sheng leaned in and whispered in his ear, "Don't quit. I like the taste of tobacco when you kiss me." San Chimu's face was expressionless, but his lower body was quickly swelling and hardening. He endured and endured, but he finally couldn't hold back. He cupped his lover's cheek and devoutly kissed his forehead. Then he folded his slender legs to block the awkward region before looking at Yun Jiyuan and asking, "What did Chief Yuan come to see me for this time?" The San Chimu, rumored to be cold and ruthless, and the person overflowing with happiness in the front of him, was nothing alike. Yun Jiyuan was stunned for a moment before saying, "Chief's son, I hope Mr. O can cooperate with us to help Meng Shu explain her position." She really didn't know about the plagiarism incident, but she's being lumped in with Lin Qing. Her future is bright. It's a pity to have it be destroyed like this. He knew that there weren't enough benefits to impress San Chimu, so he quickly added, "I heard that Chief's son wanted to buy the land in the western section of Riverside. That's the Yan family's ancestral property. I can officiate and transfer it to Chief's son at the lowest price. As long as Mr. O expresses his willingness to forgive Meng Shu on his block and give Meng Shu a chance to start over. For his lover's future, he was willing to pay any price." Ge Meng Shu was obviously very moved. Her eyes were bright red as she tightly held his hand. San Chimu turned his head to look at his lover. He really did want that land, but if it was contrary to his lover's wishes, then even if you gave him all the wealth in the world, he wouldn't do it. Zhu Sheng lowered his eyes and pondered for a moment. Then he slowly shook his head. "It's just 1 sentence. It seems very easy, but sorry, I can't do this. In the end, Miss Ge isn't innocent. The song was great, right? Did you desperately want it as soon as you heard it? And the person who wrote the song happened to be her admirer. He'd do anything for her. So Miss Ge was tempted. She begged him over and over again to give her the song. I asked Senior Brother back then. He had already started preparing the EP for me, but then he suddenly started avoiding me and gave the song to you. In my opinion, he was pestered by you to the point where he had no choice. If it wasn't for your greed and harassment, then none of this would have happened. No matter how you cleanse yourself and purify yourself, it's impossible to change the fact that you're the catalyst of this disaster. I can never forgive Senior Brother, so naturally I can never forgive you either. Please leave." The young man's words ripped off Ge Mengshu's last fig leaf. Indeed, back then, Lin Shiqing had explained to her. He'd said that the song was for Ojinan, and the EP was already being worked on. But she knew that the song would be popular. It would create a miracle, so she went to great lengths to get it, including pressuring Lin Shiqing's manager, meeting Lin Shiqing in private to give him some hope, and so on and so on. Then she got her wish. No matter how much she declared her innocence in front of the media, she couldn't kill the fear and guilt in her heart. She originally thought that Ojinan, who was weak-willed and kind by nature, would promise to forgive her, but she didn't expect that after experiencing this series of setbacks, he would become tough and cold like this. She regretted it terribly, but found no room for redemption. If she couldn't get Ojinan's forgiveness, it would be difficult for her to move forward in the entertainment industry. What should she do in the future? Take Yoon Ji-yuan's offer to quit the industry and marry him? Forget about her own reluctance. His father would be the first to stand up and express his disapproval. The Yoon family wouldn't let an entertainer into their family. Kim Shu felt like she had fallen into an ice hole. She didn't even know how Yoon Ji-yuan dragged her out of the office. Yoon Ji-yuan could also be regarded as a powerful figure in the entertainment industry, but this time he couldn't even protect his girlfriend. Seeing that Kim Shu's singing career had completely fallen into the abyss, Lin Shiqing was moving far abroad to never return. His heart was holding onto a flame, and he needed to find place to vent it. And Ojinan became the primary object for his desire for revenge. He spent a lot of money to buy some photos and made people spread them online overnight. These photos were of two men kissing obliviously. Ojinan's face was very clear, but the other man was hidden in the dark, indistinguishable. The man was very tall, and his body was also very sturdy, confining Ojinan in his arms with a tight embrace. A hand pressing the back of his head, a hand tightly wrapping around his waist, their lower bodies connected. Even in the dim light, the two's emotional attachment couldn't be concealed. The title was also very provocative. The new music king is gay, making out disgustingly in public places. Then the Internet Navy responded to the post, one after another, saying that they'd witnessed Orjinan flirt with different men in public, even acting as a callboy. His private life was definitely rotten. The netizens were in an uproar once the news came out. Shocked and angry, they bombarded Ojinan's blog, asking for the truth. They also called Hwanya Entertainment News headquarters to request an explanation. Many homophobes said that the photos were disgusting. When they saw it, they lost their lunch. Of course, some people came forward in support, saying that loving man or loving woman was Ojinan's freedom. But Sea Country had an overall conservative culture, so these voices were still a minority. A certain old-school styled actor lambasted the matter. He called it a disease, demanding that Ojinan quickly seek treatment. Ojinan's fledgling singing career was dealt a devastating blow. His sexuality and private life became the subject of after-dinner conversations, and some intimate photos of him and Lin Shiqing taken when he was younger surfaced, suggesting that he was in unrequited love with Lin Shiqing, so he deliberately ruined him. Since everyone had stopped paying attention to Ge Shu, Yoon Ji-yuan cleaned up her reputation by discrediting Ojinan. He contracted the top domestic musicians, planning to release a new album for her, so she could come back into the limelight as quickly as possible. Lily, Hwanya's CEO, approached Son Chi-moo with a stack of newspapers, asking anxiously, "Boss, what do we do now? Should we hold a press conference to explain the situation, or should we quickly fake a sex scandal with Ozinan and one of our company's female artists so he could be washed white? After asking the last question, Lily would swear on his life that he saw killing intent in his boss's eyes.